The scene begins with a moment of cold tension. A young woman with long, wavy, rose-colored hair tied in a high ponytail turns her head slightly, her expression stoic and detached. She delivers a final, blunt piece of advice to the person behind her. "I think it'd be better if you heard it from Dong-song directly." Her refusal to engage further sets a tone of finality, suggesting a deep-seated conflict or a truth she is no longer willing to hide. Continuing her exit, the woman looks back one last time with a gaze that is both weary and resolute. There is no warmth left in her eyes as she makes her intentions clear. With a sharp, professional coldness, she utters her parting words. "If you don't need anything else from me, I'll be going." The turn sound effect lingering in the air emphasizes her physical and emotional withdrawal from the conversation. As the door closes with a deafening slam, the focus shifts to the woman left behind. An older woman, elegantly dressed, but wearing a mask of pure rage, stares at the door in disbelief. Her face is contorted with anger, her brow is deeply furrowed, and her mouth is pulled into a grimace of indignation. The jagged, dark aura lines radiating around her head visually represent her mounting blood pressure and the shock of being so brazenly dismissed. The camera pans down to emphasize the older woman's physical reaction to her fury. Her fists are clenched so tightly they tremble, and the dark, heavy shading at the bottom of the frame illustrates a bottomless anger. Clad in a sophisticated red dress with a black sash, her rigid posture reveals a person used to being in control, now vibrating with a silent, menacing resentment as she processes the young woman's defiance. Finally, the scene shifts to the exterior of the building. The young woman has emerged from the confrontation and stands before a brightly lit establishment with a glowing pink neon sign that reads "Voman." The dark, quiet night of the street stands in stark contrast to the heated argument that just took place indoors. As she prepares to walk away into the shimmering city lights, the atmosphere feels heavy with the consequences of the bridge she has just burned. Seeking a change of pace after her tense confrontation, the young woman with the flowing rose-colored hair pushes through the heavy glass doors of the establishment. Her silhouette is framed by the dim, atmospheric lighting of the interior as she steps inside, her blue shoulder bag tucked neatly under her arm. The rhythmic click of her shoes on the floor marks her transition from the cold night air into a place of warmth and social energy. Just as she enters, a hand enters the frame, waving enthusiastically to catch her attention. A bright, energetic voice cuts through the ambient noise of the room, calling out her name, "So-young." So-young stops in her tracks, her expression one of mild surprise as she looks toward the source of the greeting, her large, thoughtful eyes searching the room to find the familiar face. The source of the call is a woman with short, wavy blonde hair and a radiant smile that lights up her entire face. Adorned with elegant, flower-shaped gold earrings, she appears genuinely thrilled to see her friend. She waves back with a cheerful shout, "Moa!" The shelves behind her, stocked with rows of bottles, suggest they are meeting in a sophisticated wine bar or lounge. The blonde woman is seated comfortably at the dark counter, exuding an air of relaxed elegance. She wears a patterned halter-style top under a loose, dark blazer, blending professional style with a night-out aesthetic. In front of her sits a chilled yellow drink filled with ice cubes, shimmering under the soft bar lights as she gestures for So-young to join her. So-young approaches the bar, the tension from her earlier encounter seemingly beginning to melt away in the presence of a friend. As she stands before the blonde woman, her friend leans back with a welcoming gaze and asks warmly, "It's been so long, how have you been?" The two women stand together against the backdrop of glowing wine refrigerators, ready to dive into a long overdue conversation and leave the drama of the day behind. The scene opens with an intimate atmosphere in what appears to be a dimly lit, upscale lounge or bar. A woman with long, wavy mahogany hair stands with her back to the viewer, clad in a crisp white blouse and dark slacks. As the conversation continues, the camera shifts to a medium close shot, focusing on the woman's profile. Her companion, partially visible on the right with blonde hair, notes how rare this occasion is. The speech bubbles above them highlight the bittersweet nature of their meeting. "It's rare that you had time to meet up. It's been a while since we hung out like this." A soft rustle sound effect floats in the air, suggesting the gentle movement of their clothes or the background ambiance of the venue. Turning her head slightly, the woman offers a charming, knowing smile. Her large, expressive eyes and perfectly styled hair catch the ambient light of the room. She looks back toward her friend with an expression that is both elegant and mischievous. The background is a soft blur of purple hues and hanging light fixtures, emphasizing the cozy, private nature of their night out. She seems to be preparing a witty comeback to the comment about her busy schedule. The perspective shifts to a close-up of the woman from behind as she playfully defends herself. She gestures toward her companion, her voice rising with a hint of mock indignation. The speech bubble takes center stage, shouting, "Hey, what are you talking about? You were always the busier one." The dynamic lines on the left side of the panel emphasize her sudden movement and the lively, spirited energy she brings to the debate over who has been harder to reach. The final panel zooms in on the woman's face, capturing a more contemplative and focused gaze. Her eyes are wide as she lists the reasons for her friend's past absences. The two overlapping speech bubbles conclude the exchange by detailing the companion's hectic life. "You were always tied up, working overtime, going on dates." This moment of reflection adds depth to their relationship, showing a history of shared memories and a long-standing friendship that has endured through their various life changes.
The cheerful atmosphere of the reunion momentarily halts as a sharp realization flashes across the woman's face. Her expression shifts from a playful smile to one of mild shock or dawning memory. A small bead of sweat appears on her cheek, accompanied by a quiet, breathless "ah" escaping her lips. It is the look of someone suddenly remembering a past event that contradicts their current argument. The scene shifts into a hazy memory of a different evening. So Young is on the phone, receiving a persistent request from someone on the other end. The caller's dialogue box is jagged and demanding, pleading, "So Young, my friends say they want to see you. Can't you come and say hi? You came last time. Why not today?" In the foreground, So Young tries to set a boundary, weakly stating, "I'm with my friends right now." The flashback continues, showing So Young standing in a crowded, brick-walled room with a worried expression. Clad in a white puffed-sleeved blouse and a brown sweater vest, she clutches her phone tightly to her ear. Her eyes are cast downward, filled with hesitation as she is pulled between her loyalty to the friends she is currently with and the social pressure coming through the phone. She looks deeply conflicted, caught in a moment where she cannot say no. The memory concludes with the final manipulative push from the caller. As So Young stands surrounded by the blurred figures of her friends, the voice on the phone dismisses her current plans entirely. The dialogue box insists, "You can see your friends next time. Just help me save face here." This reveals the true nature of her busy past. It wasn't just work or dates, but a constant struggle to satisfy the demands of others at the expense of her own time. Returning to the present, the two women sit together at the bar, a plate of fruit and 2 drinks sitting between them. The vibrant, playful energy from earlier has softened into a quiet, reflective mood. So Young looks down at her drink, her shoulders slumped slightly as she admits the truth to herself. Her internal thought bubble reads, "She's right, it's been a while since I met a friend like this." She finally acknowledges that she has been neglecting the genuine connections in her life while being tied up with superficial social obligations.
The scene begins with a moment of high tension and protective energy. Sharp, jagged speech bubbles dominate the frame, conveying a sense of urgency and loud, decisive action. Someone is demanding the truth, shouting, "Tell me everything, I'll take care of it for you." The background shows a blurred, modern setting, suggesting a conversation taking place in a private, possibly upscale environment where a conflict has reached its boiling point. The perspective shifts to a more intimate and emotional tone. A person gently cradles the face of a woman with long, wavy, reddish-brown hair. Her eyes are filled with sadness and hesitation, her cheeks slightly flushed. The dialogue bubbles take a softer, more persuasive approach, advising her, "If you keep it bottled up, it'll wear you out. Come on, spill it." The speaker is trying to provide a safe space for her to release her heavy burden. The camera zooms in on the woman's face, capturing the raw vulnerability of the moment. Her expression is one of deep distress, her eyes shimmering as if on the verge of tears. The sound effect choke appears beside her, indicating her struggle to find the words through her grief or anxiety. The person holding her whispers her name, Moa, confirming her identity and offering a final anchor of support as she prepares to speak. The tension breaks into a confession. The frames become minimalist, focusing entirely on the weight of the words being spoken. In a series of fading speech bubbles, Moa finally lets the secret out. She begins with, "The truth is," followed by the pivotal reveal, Dongsung and Nayang. The fading text suggests a voice that is trembling or trailing off as she reveals a truth that has been painful to carry. The final scene erupts in a burst of fury. The emotional dam has broken, and the listener reacts with violent indignation on Moa's behalf. Large, spiky speech bubbles scream, "What? That son of a bee!" accompanied by a loud slam sound effect. This sudden shift from a quiet confession to an explosive, protective rage suggested the information revealed about Dongsung and Nayang was a serious betrayal, prompting an immediate desire for retribution. The intensity of the conversation picks up as the friend leans in, their voice becoming more firm and supportive. Two jagged, energetic speech bubbles dominate the frame, emphasizing the urgency of the plea. "Tell me everything. I'll take care of it for you." This isn't just curiosity, it is a fierce promise of protection. The friend is ready to go to battle for her, offering a safe harbor for whatever painful truth is about to be revealed. The scene opens with a moment of tender concern. A woman with long, wavy chestnut hair looks down, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and hesitation. A hand gently cups her face, a comforting gesture from a friend who senses her inner turmoil. The friend encourages her to open up, saying, "If you keep it bottled up, it'll wear you out. Come on, spill it." It is clear that the woman has been carrying a heavy burden in silence, and her friend is determined to share that weight. Overwhelmed by the kindness and the pressure of the moment, the woman, addressed as Moa, begins to react physically to her emotions. Her cheeks are flushed with a pink blush, and her eyes are glazed with unshed tears. A choke sound effect appears, signifying that the words are literally catching in her throat. She looks at her friend, feeling the safety of their presence, but still struggling to find the courage to speak the words out loud. Finally, the silence breaks. In a minimalist frame that focuses entirely on the dialogue, Moa begins her confession. The words, "The truth is," hang at the top of the panel. Below, in a faded, almost whispered tone, she reveals the core of her distress. Dongsung and Nayang. The truth regarding these two individuals is the catalyst for the drama, finally being released after being bottled up for so long. The calm is shattered instantly by a violent outburst of protective rage. As soon as the revelation is heard, the friend reacts with a physical slam, likely hitting a table or a wall in anger. The speech bubbles become sharp and aggressive, reflecting a total shift in mood from comfort to fury. They scream, "What? That son of a..." The betrayal by Dongsung and Nayoung has clearly crossed a line, and Moa's friend is now ready to take action. The scene erupts with a surge of aggressive energy as a hand tightly grips a glass of amber liquid, ice cubes clinking against the glass. The liquid sloshes near the rim, mirroring the turbulent emotions of the speaker. In a sharp, jagged speech bubble that signals intense anger, the character declares with lethal intent, "I'm going to break that bastards!" This moment signifies the exact point where empathy for Moa transforms into an active plan for retaliation. The rage intensifies, filling the frame with a massive, explosive speech bubble that leaves no room for doubt about the speaker's resolve. The sentence from the previous moment is completed with a terrifying level of violence. "No, I'm going to crush his entire body." The sharp purple borders of the bubble and the bolded text emphasize a raw, unbridled fury directed at the person who caused Moa's suffering. The perspective shifts to show a blonde woman with a shocked and determined expression, her mouth open as she addresses Moa directly. She is frustrated by Moa's passive state, exclaiming, "Geez, so you're just here moping like this? You've got to get revenge." She wears ornate gold earrings and a dark patterned top, her wide eyes reflecting a mixture of disbelief and a fierce protective instinct as she tries to snap her friend out of her despair. As the blonde woman continues to watch her with a worried, expectant gaze, Moa remains seated at the table, her head slightly bowed and her gaze averted. The atmosphere in the room is heavy with the aftermath of the outburst. Moa's expression is somber, her face flushed as she quietly absorbs the suggestion. A single word hangs in the air in a small speech bubble at the bottom: revenge. The camera zooms in on a close-up profile of Moa as she ponders the weight of that word. Her expression is unreadable, but deeply serious. The blonde friend's voice continues to prompt her, the speech bubble asking, "Moa, if you were going to take revenge..." This lingering shot captures the internal transition of the protagonist as she moves from being a victim to potentially becoming the architect of her own retribution. Following the shocking revelation of betrayal, the room falls into a tense silence. The woman with chestnut hair, still processing the pain, asks the quiet but heavy question. Her voice is barely a whisper as she looks toward her friend, seeking a path forward. She asks, "How would you do it?" It is the first step towards seeking justice, or perhaps revenge for the hurt she has endured. Her blonde friend does not miss a beat. She turns slightly, her expression sharp and decisive, as if the solution has been clear to her from the very beginning. She dismisses any doubt with a bold counter-question. What's there to think about? For her, the time for mourning the betrayal has passed, and the time for a calculated response has begun. The blonde friend leans in closer, her presence becoming more commanding. The focus shifts to the proximity between the two, emphasizing the intimacy of their conspiracy. With absolute confidence, she declares that the path forward isn't complicated at all. She tells her friend, "The answer's obvious." Finally, the plan is laid out in plain, shocking terms. The blonde woman places a supportive hand on her friend's shoulder, looking her straight in the eye to ensure the message sinks in. A large speech bubble emphasizes the gravity of her suggestion. "You gotta start by stealing Nayoung's boyfriend." It is a direct eye-for-an-eye strategy designed to strike back at the source of the pain. The sheer audacity of the suggestion leaves the chestnut-haired woman momentarily speechless. Her eyes widen, and her breath catches as the weight of the plan settles over her. The small bubble containing only perfectly captures her internal shock and the realization of what she is being asked to do. The scene concludes with a dramatic, stylized frame that emphasizes the gravity of the decision. The words vibrate with intensity against a radial background, signaling a point of no return. The final confirmation is whispered back, "I already am, Moa." With those words, the pact is sealed, and the wheels of revenge are officially set in motion.